What's up everybody? Welcome back to Golf Simulator videos. I'm standing in front of what I would consider the ultimate commercial golf simulator build. I have so many people reach out, whether they are in a golf club like we're in today, maybe they're in a bar, or maybe they're looking to lease a space to open a commercial golf simulator business. They are wondering how the heck to do it, and there's a lot of challenges. There's very tall ceilings, like this tall ceiling we're in right now. There are people that want to set up a golf simulator in the fall, but then take it down in the spring. There are all kinds of challenges like that, and this setup, I think, is the answer to so many people. So this is actually the Indoor Golf Shop Commercial Golf Simulator Enclosure. It actually comes with 2-inch EMT pipe, which is extra heavy duty strength. And what that allows you to do is actually have a freestanding enclosure with everything mounted to it. So in this actual case, we use the Unicore IXO, which is mounted to a crossbar in this enclosure. The projector is a BenQ AH500 ST, that's mounted to the enclosure. I'm gonna take you through all of it. We're gonna show you a time lapse of how it was built. I'm gonna do a full walk around talking about every single component, including this awesome SIGPRO Softy mat that they did. It's a commercial style version of that SIGPRO Softy mat. It's the Super Softy. And then we'll talk about the turf. We'll talk about everything, especially the design of this enclosure where the screen actually meets the ground. We're in a room that is surrounded by glass. So this client, it was very important to make sure that a ball wasn't going to go stray and actually hit the glass. Well, the way that this screen comes down and gets wrapped and is tight where a ball can't go under, when we do that walk around, I'll show you, it's really awesome. Now on top of that, this thing is massive. So this is a 10-foot deep, almost 14 feet wide, 10 feet tall enclosure. Now they do custom make these, so you can get them in various sizes. This one is what would work perfect in this room, maximizing the space in this 4x3 format that gives you a massive 9-foot, 8-inch tall image by 12-foot 6-inch wide image. As you can see, we have GS Pro up here on the screen right now. It looks fantastic. What I would like to do is I'd like to start off by showing you the time lapse of kind of how we assembled this with only a few people. Only took us a handful of hours, making sure that we were doing everything right. And then I'll do a close-up walk around of all these components. We'll talk about how it goes together, the quality of the materials, everything along those lines. So let's go ahead and take a look at the time lapse.
First thing I always like to do is lay out the turf. We measured, made sure it was in the center of the room, got all our poles and connectors laid out, and they do a good job labeling all the poles. So with 2 people really and a few ladders, you can get these assembled. They are heavy duty, so you definitely are going to need 2 people. 3 makes it really easy, and then you're going to get your surround put on. Once the surround's put on, then you're going to add your padding. You can see we were hanging up the IXO. Padding makes it look really nice. And then started laying out our mats and things like that. I hung up a light. You can see I kind of laid down a projector. Before you know it, there we were with a final product.
All right, I really hope you guys enjoyed that time lapse of showing how we assembled this with just a few people. Like I said, a handful of hours, probably spent, I don't know, let's say around 4 hours or so to get this thing all together. And you know, I really want to show how unique this room is. So this is at Tyrone Hills Golf and Country Club. And I'll actually put a few images up on the screen right now of what this room looked like before. I mean, this was completely useless to them other than storage. They really weren't utilizing this real estate. And so now it's going to be the home of Darren Hussey Golf Academy with this awesome commercial golf simulator build. So talk about maximizing real estate and revenue and with a freestanding unit. So let's just focus first on the enclosure because like I said, I feel like it is kind of the hero of the show. When you talk about material, it's really nice how their material not only is a quality material, but it comes with like padding built in. So when you wrap this around and install it, it's all padded. So, you know, you don't have metal sticking out or anything to worry about, and that goes all the way down to the bottom. Now, this is where things get really unique. So, yes, it does stick out to actually give it a brace back here, but this design, the screen actually pulls under. So this is a cable that goes across, foam wraps around it, the screen goes under and then attaches to this back pole. We did a mixture of bungees and zip ties. I find that to work best. You can do all bungees if you want, but by bringing this tight, then you actually don't have any balls that sneak under the screen. Tees, balls, anything like that. And then we opted to go with this blackout screen because obviously you have light that would come through the windows and you don't have to worry about that with the Blackout screen. So really nice. Now this is the money putt turf that the indoor golf shop sells. It's one single piece, 15 by 15. So obviously is, you know, streamlined. You can put padding under this and level it, but we found it unnecessary. And this may become dual purpose with a multi-sport system. We'll talk about that maybe later in the video or show it in another video altogether. But you could essentially put padding underneath and raise it up. Now, this is that SIGPRO Super Softy mat that I was talking about. It measures 4 by 9. And what's nice about it is that it has this heavy-duty rubber material, yet it still has that dense foam, all right, that is lightweight, easy to move around. It snaps together with these rubber pieces, and this thing's not going anywhere. So that's what's nice. It gives you a very, very sturdy stance. And then the centerpiece is the SIGPRO Softy that you guys are used to seeing in the channel. So I'll see if I can pull this out of here. It actually does have that foam, memory foam bottom in the bottom, so the slots are there. Try to push that for you guys and see. And it's one big piece that goes in. And what's nice about this is, one, you can put a real tee in that if you want to, or use something like the tees that I use, the 3D printed tees, but it's replaceable. You're in a commercial golf simulator. I mean, this thing's probably gonna have some wear and tear eventually. All you have to do is replace that piece. So let's go into the inside of the enclosure, then we'll talk about the mounts and everything. It comes with padding that goes all around. It's actually like a soft carpet padding, if you can see that. And it does have some branding on it, which I think is actually kind of cool. So they have the indoor golf shop logos on there. Padding goes all the way around the screen. And then it even comes with padding that goes in this crossbar. And I'm going to try to step over here so you guys can see how the IXO mounts right to that crossbar. They actually sell the mount for the IXO and various ceiling mounted golf launch monitors. And this is actually a light I just bought off Amazon. I'll put a bunch of links and stuff down in the description if you guys have questions. As always, feel free to email me. But very, very easy to mount the IXO up there. And then what's interesting about this is, depending on the projector you're using and depending on the depth you go with, if you went with a 15-foot deep enclosure, so if it went all the way back here, which really wasn't a fit for this room, then you could mount your projector most likely back there, or maybe depending on the size, right from this pole. We opted to go with a little bit of an extension. Very, very simple to actually use a mount and use an extension like we have here with U-bolts. I can show you guys that as well if you need to. But check out the image that's coming from the BenQ AH500ST. What's so impressive about this projector is that the image on this screen is actually a little bit taller than a 4x3, but you're able to back the projector up, fill the complete image all the way to the top, and use a little bit of the corner fitting tool because it has massive corner fitting and it's just so easy to fit to the screen. All right, now what do we do over here? We ran all of our wires right down through the Velcro padded straps right to our laptop. Generally, I would tell everyone if you're running a Unicry IXO, you want to have a desktop, with your onboard Ethernet going to it, but it's working perfect for this situation here. I think that covers all of the components as a whole. Like I said, all you guys got to do is email me on that stuff. Now I want to put this in action and show you guys some shots. We're going to hit irons, we're going to hit driver, and we're actually going to talk to Darren Hussey about the challenges of this room and what they were trying to do and how we were able to come up with this solution. All right, guys, so I'm here with Darren Hussey. He's the head PGA professional here at Darren Hussey Golf Academy. And we're gonna hit some shots for you guys. We're hooked up to GS Pro Golf Simulator software. There are several things that I want to talk about when we're hitting shots. So I wanna talk about the sound that is actually coming from the ball hitting the screen, and then even more importantly, bounce back. So I've seen some DIY setups in the past where someone might not know what they're doing, and I've seen balls fly back and they can injure people. It's very dangerous. Darren, what do you have, a 9-iron today?
9-iron, yeah.
So we're gonna hit various shots. We're gonna hit driver, so stay tuned for that. Fire a couple shots off for us. We're out at Whispering Pines. This is number 14, this par 3. It's just really cool. And I figured this would be a good example to start off with a 9-iron. Listen to the ball hit the screen, watch where it ends up, and we'll talk about it. So if you notice, not only was that quiet, but the ball is probably, I don't know, just over 3 feet from the screen. That's a pretty good shot. That's a tough shot.
Yeah.
Why don't you give it one more go at it and we'll pay attention, make sure that ball lands in the same spot. Once again, listening to the sound, and like I said, pay attention to the bounce back. Oh, that was a great strike. Heck, I think the ball that time landed like 2 feet from the screen. So these are just ideal things. So if you don't mind, I'd like to ask you a couple questions.
Yeah.
So one, things that we talked about when you were talking about opening up a space like this. I mean, one, this room was completely unused, right?
Yeah, it wasn't used for anything. Storage.
Basically, yeah, storage. So, I
Storage.
mean, not making the club any money, not making you any money with lessons
Yeah.
or anything. So, we talked about being able to put this thing up and not have it be a construction project. You know, and I think that that was really, really awesome to see that you could take a room with a high ceiling and put this all in there, maximize the space, you know, because it was really interesting how it was kind of like a vaulted ceiling. That was a challenge when we were measuring
It's an
things.
interesting room. The building is 1960s, so there's things in here that you don't see in modern buildings.
Yeah.
You're going to show obviously in the before and after views, but of the big globe lights and everything. And so we did make some modifications to the room itself, but other than that, it was pretty simple.
Yeah,
to be
no,
honest
it's
with you.
awesome. Let's talk about the mat really quick. That's another thing we talked about. It was like a balance. We have to find a mat that is forgiving enough because you're teaching people that it could be a super high handicap person. They're going to be chunking the ball. You don't want people hurting their wrists and elbows and everything. But at the same time, it has to be able to handle the wear and tear. And then if you have a really good golfer, such as yourself, and you're hitting a little bit behind the ball, it actually penalizes you. But keeps it realistic. I mean, wouldn't you say this is kind of that balance that we found?
Yeah, I mean, this was a big talking point, obviously, when we were talking about building this out, was I wanted good turf.
Yeah.
I think when you're building a simulator, just my advice to anybody is don't skimp on turf.
That's so true.
It's a massive thing when it comes to injuries and stuff. I mean, you're gonna be hitting balls on this more than you're used to hitting.
Yeah.
In probably during the summer.
Yeah, the repetitions add up.
I see so many injuries, elbows, wrists, hands, everything that just simply comes from somebody saving some money perhaps on some turf, and don't skimp on turf is my biggest thing. And the biggest thing I ask you is make sure it's quality turf, and it goes a long way just from injury prevention.
Goes a long way for injury prevention. Like I said, the interesting part about the SIGPRO Super Softy is that it's that easy replaceable strip too. So there's just a lot of versatility in it. Now at the same time, like I said, we were talking about the bounce back being important. You don't want to have liability on yourself if someone injures themselves in here.
Yeah.
But another thing we talked about that I think you guys should really consider if you're looking to build out a commercial space is having the golfers be comfortable. We wanted to make sure that even though this room was difficult to deal with, that it was tall enough and wide enough to where people are going to be able to swing driver and not feel like they're going to have that indoor, golf swing syndrome. And I think that the height alone makes a huge difference, but this being about 14 feet wide, you can clear a club no problem. You were swinging driver already, and we'll show you here in just a minute. You feel comfortable, don't you?
Yeah, I don't even think, honestly, that's a really big thing as an instructor, and especially doing club fittings and stuff is, part of the reason why I don't do club fittings when it's 45 degrees outside and it's cold and windy is I'm not seeing the true golfer when they're not swinging their normal swing outside. So when they're in a restricted environment, like they're thinking about hitting something, indoor golf syndrome, I want to try to eliminate as much of that as possible. Because if I'm teaching somebody and they're worried about hitting the enclosure or hitting the top of the ceiling or something, they're not making their same swings.
Yeah, that's heckin' challenging as an instructor, let alone challenging for the golfer.
Yes.
And that's something to keep in mind. Like I already mentioned in the video, you guys feel free to email me. These guys will make custom enclosures for you, but I'll help guide you to what spacing you need and everything, whether you're going deeper, maybe you go with the 15-foot deep one. But without further ado, let's show these guys some drivers.
Okay.
All right, let's do it. All right, guys, I'm super excited to show you this clip because this is where safety is really important. So when you're hitting a driver, we'll probably see 160 plus mile per hour ball speed right now. When that ball hits, you want to have the confidence that it's not going to come back. So Darren, if you don't mind, tee one up, let's fire it off, let's show them a couple drives. Then I'm actually going to ask you a few questions that I think the viewers are really going to want to hear your opinion on, and that's about, you know, teaching and everything year round now that this is part of your facility. So go ahead and fire off a couple shots. We're at the GS Pro range, nice flat range, perfect to demonstrate a couple drives. So that was almost 164 mile per hour ball speed. The crazy part is it landed where that second 8-iron or 9-iron landed. That was like less than 3 feet off the screen.
Barely bounced back.
Yeah, hit one more if you don't mind. And just notice how his driver is just not even coming close. I actually stood behind and did an initial video to show him how far the driver actually was, because when you're on your swing plane, you don't realize the club doesn't go straight behind you. Plenty of room. $163.6. That was a heck of a drive. That one might be, I have to walk up here. 2.5 feet? I mean, that's just really important. Like, you don't want a student, you yourself, nobody wants to stand in front of a screen. We're about 10 feet ball to screen, and looks amazing and everything else. You want to be able to swing freely and not have the mindset like, oh God, you know, what if this ball ricochets back? You've got the padding, you've got that safety down at the bottom just in case someone does whiz one low, you don't have to worry about it. Padding up top, everything safe all around. It's just good confidence to have that and to swing freely like we were talking about. But got a question for you that I think everyone would probably want to hear, and it's the ability that if you can find a space, whether you're leasing a space, whether it's in a golf club like you have here, the difference between before you were what do you figure? It was probably 8 months to a year or so on average, depending on the weather here in Michigan, that you actually have a job essentially. Then things just shut down come about November, and you're not teaching. There's no lessons. And I think your students want lessons too.
Yeah, I mean, like I always tell people, is I prefer teaching during the winter is when I get my most aggressive on swing changes, because we don't have to go out and play golf right away. And then during the summer is when we just kind of maintain those. And I think a lot of people kind of have it backwards, is they kind of wait until the weather starts getting nicer and they're like, oh, I need to get my golf game in shape. And at this point, it's like, okay, we're just going to damage control all summer long, just put Band-Aids on things, get little fixes, but you really can't make aggressive changes during the summer.
You only have a few months here in Michigan.
It's not fair to the golfers.
Yeah.
They're not willing to maybe take a little step backwards for a couple weeks or a month while they make these changes. So I love teaching during the winter. And really, if you think about it, it's been just in the last handful of years, really, and if you want to maybe say 10 years, but in the last handful of years, the technology has gotten so good that you can really trust the data indoors. I prefer teaching indoors, to be honest with you. And then the outdoors is just supplementing the work that we did during the winter.
Sure. And I mean, you got to remember, guys, too, this could be in any state. I have people all the time in Florida. It could be 100 degrees. No one wants to stand out there and have a golf lesson 100 degrees. Rain, even here in Michigan in the summertime, whatever it may be. It just really enables you to have a job year-round. You know, and I think that's huge. But at the same time, as an avid golf simulator user and the people I talk to, I can tell you that it really is true. Seeing a ball flight and being able to understand data and listen to a coach, and just it's a different way of applying it. You just have a better grasp on things. It leads towards quicker improvement, in my opinion.
Yeah, and just kind of a small thing that I do like about teaching indoors is a big part of making changes is building confidence along the way. In having the turf, no matter how good the turf is, if you hit 2 inches, 4 inches behind the ball, you're still going to get a somewhat positive result. You may have a few skewed numbers in there, but the ball is still going to get in the air. The ball is still going to fly. So they build confidence even on these. So if they did that outdoors and laid the sod over a ball and made a great golf swing, and we looked at all their data and said, wow, this is exactly what I wanted to see, and their ball is laying 10 yards in front of them, they think they failed.
Yeah.
So it does kind of
That's an
give
interesting
some
perspective.
confidence to somebody that they could make a bad low point of their golf club hit behind the golf ball, get a positive result, and kind of get some affirmation that they're on the right track without seeing a bad result and thinking they did something wrong simply just because they made bad contact.
Absolutely. No, I appreciate you sharing that. A few final tips I want to, just things I want to touch on really, is that if you guys have noticed, I've had lights on in here the whole time. This place has lights everywhere. It's bright in here. Wanted to do that for the camera quality, but the 4,000 lumen laser out of the BenQ H500 ST, I got to give it a shout out. It does a great job. I mean, it's a really, really nice image, and all at the same time, like I said, I'm still impressed with the bounce back of this screen. There's just a lot of good components to all of this. I appreciate the Indoor Golf Shop because I worked with them on the sizing and everything on this and the mounts and where that was going to be placed. They did a good job. As I said, check out links and stuff down in the description below. A lot of them help support the channel, which I appreciate. And then as always, make sure you guys email me with questions that you have. Whether you're a golf pro looking to transform your unused space inside of a golf club or somewhere that you have, maybe you're looking to lease a space, maybe you're a bar owner that you're looking to add entertainment with additional revenue, things like that. Shoot me an email. I've helped so many people with these commercial golf simulator builds. It's honestly an untapped industry. It's growing rapidly, and it's so easy to do with something that's freestanding like this as well. Doesn't have to be a huge project. So pay attention to upcoming videos that I plan on doing with this space because I have some really cool ideas of how you can even take things to the next level once you have this set up. So I appreciate you guys watching as always. Darren, thanks for being a part of the video and helping us assist you with all of this. Stay tuned. There'll be a lot more coming soon.